What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with some more Detroit Lions free agency updates. That is right, we have more updates for the Lions in free agency. So with that, let's get it started. Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And this is supposed to be a quick report video as news is happening left to right. I got my phone right here because every time I look down, there's another signing. And for the Detroit Lions, we have some more news to report since the Isaiah Buggs signing. Now, we were just live, so one of these signings we reacted to live. But with that, I do want to touch on it for anybody that missed it. And also, there is another one, which is a re-signing, but it's a pretty nice deal. It's a re-signing that the Detroit Lions have also announced as well. So we're going to dive into those most recent signings for the Lions. This is not a breakdown video. These players are going to have their own individual videos to talk about what they're bringing to the table, especially new guys from the outside, and I'm working on those right now. But instead, these are quick updates on who the Lions have brought in and just a little bit of background on these players. So the Isaiah Buggs one was a video that we announced this morning that the Detroit Lions were re-signing Isaiah Buggs, the defensive tackle, to a 2-year, $6 million deal. However, now we have some of the contract details, and it is a little bit different. So just a quick little update there. Isaiah Buggs' cap hit set for this upcoming season, which the Detroit Lions cap hit, if you don't know, is basically what you have to worry about because that is how much they are costing towards your available cap space for that season. So for this year, while it was initially reported to be a 2-year, $6 million deal, which would make you think, okay, $3 million each year, his cap hit for this season is only $1.7 million. That is Isaiah Buggs. The Lions proceeded to backload it a little bit, meaning there's $2.8 million cap hit in 2024. But with that being said, the Lions also left an out in his contract as well, as there's only $500K dead cap after this season. So while his cap number rises a tad, it's also usually what most teams do is backload contracts because you usually anticipate that the salary cap is going to continue to grow. And like I was saying on live stream, I'm sure these guys kind of have a sense of how it's grown and how pushing a little bit money back will actually affect it, because really what matters is the percentage of cap space taking up, not necessarily the number there, because while it may be 2.8 next year, the salary cap for teams around the league could be higher, so it may feel the exact same as the $1.7 million cap hit does this year, if that makes any sense. But the point is that there's a little bit of an out in his deal. There's a clear out after one season. He was backloaded a little bit, so it doesn't cost a ton for the Lions this year, and there's also annual incentives for Isaiah Buggs that come in the form of playing time for $750K per season. So that is just a quick little update on that deal. Now, as I'm checking all of the news that is going down, we have a couple of more to report. So the one that we reacted to live is that the Detroit Lions signed cornerback, and this is the biggest deal that they've given to an out-of-house player in free agency, cornerback Cameron Sutton from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is a 28-year-old cornerback, and the Lions have never given out a 3-year deal since Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been here to a player that was not a re-signing. So hey, it's the beginning of something new, and we're not talking about void years here. At least we're not sure on that because we don't have the absolute contract details like we heard with the Isaiah Buggs one. They're usually a little bit different. It was initially reported that his deal is a 3-year, $33 million deal with 22.5 of that being guaranteed. Again, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we'll keep an eye on it. Cam Sutton, a pretty young corner that was a 3rd-round pick back in 2017 out of Tennessee, is a player that has gotten work both in the nickel and on the outside. Looking at the cornerback position for this year's free agency market, I was trying to dive through and find guys that I felt like could really translate to a defense that likes to play man coverage. Now, that's not to say that the Lions won't change something schematically, because they definitely could, but the Lions love to play man and they like to play press man as well. And Cam Sutton was one of the free agents that I felt like a cornerback could actually handle his own in man coverage, and that was the case when he came out of Tennessee, and that is the case when you watch him. It's really the fluidity within his feet, things like that. Again, there will be a full breakdown video of him coming a little bit later, so I won't go too far into that. But he also has that slot versatility as well. And with the Pittsburgh defense, who has kind of transitioned into still playing man with Sutton about 35% of the time, but also a lot more Tampa 2 looks defensively, his slot flexibility is very noticeable. And it would not shock me if the Lions, had visions of putting him in a lot of different spots. But even if the Lions said, hey, we really like him as a starting nickel, because that was clearly an area the Lions could get better. Last year they came in with Mike Hughes. Then throughout the season, Will Harris kind of took over that role. Then Mike Hughes was kicked to the outside. And I thought Mike Hughes actually played better on the outside. He was just limited. But now you're getting a guy in Cam Sutton who has graded out really well, still very young. He's been pretty darn healthy throughout his entire career, which is fantastic. He's not the most athletically dynamic player, but he is a very fluid player, and he also has very big ball production. I need to pause on that, but he has big time ball production, and that I think can really show up with the versatility from the slot, because while they run Tampa 2, we do a lot too. Just go watch the Green Bay Packers game. You'll see Will Harris going from playing slot to basically aligned at safety, playing a cover 2 look as a safety alignment. That's the kind of thing that we ask of our nickels. So I think the transition is going to be pretty easy to see, especially once we do this breakdown video. But the Lions also addressed a position which was a clear need. Detroit Lions needed cornerback help, and whether that's outside corner or maybe even the slot cornerback position, the Lions on the outside, I believe, need a starter coming into the year, and maybe he could be that. But at the same time, they also could really use slot help in the sense of playmaking. I think that's what they've missed from the slot, is Will Harris held his own from the nickel. The difference is, though, we haven't really had that playmaker at that position yet. So maybe that's what he's going to be for us. But it was at a position of clear need for the Lions. I'm sure they want more ball hawks in the back end. He's also been a very reliable tackler as well, so you're getting that. And again, it's at a big-time position of need. So Cameron Sutton is a Lion. Full video coming on him soon. Also, we just heard that the Detroit Lions are re-signing off-ball linebacker Alex Anzalone, my boy Duracell. Y'all know I was hyped to see that my guy Duracell was getting re-signed, man. This is amazing, okay? I actually started to kind of talk myself into maybe the Lions won't re-sign Alex Anzalone because, maybe Derek Barnes, they believe that it's his time to kind of take over that Mike linebacker position, and Malcolm Rodriguez, I believe, is squarely their will linebacker. But with that being said, the Detroit Lions are re-signing Alex Anzalone on a reportedly 3-year, $18.75 million deal, maybe a little bit higher than I anticipated, but again, we don't know the exact numbers to this. That equals out to about $6.25 million per year, which isn't a ton. And to be honest, there wasn't a ton of linebackers like this on the market, in the sense of course, he was with us this past season, but he's coming off his career season. He's coming off of playing all 17 games. He's only 28 years old. We know that he fits the defense, but also on top of that, he was one of the only linebackers that you really would feel good about, able to, in our scheme, both play as a Mike linebacker and a will linebacker, have 3-down capability. You can find will linebackers out there. You might be able to find Mike linebackers out there, but a guy that can do both. And while that's so important for a guy like Alex Anzalone for our defense, is because it allows you to pretty much put anybody that you want with him. You can pair him up with any linebacker that you want, and he can move and play different positions. He's been the leader of that defense that the Lions have given a ton of credit to, that he's the guy that helps out Malcolm Rodriguez. He's the guy that gets everybody in their position. He's the leader of this defense. Here's some quotes. Last year was the best I've ever seen him in all the years that we had him in New Orleans. That was the best I've seen him play, and this year is even better. He's playing at a high level. He's the quarterback of the defense. He's versatile. He's a really good athlete. He's smart. He knows exactly what Aaron Glenn, AG, is looking for. He knows the situation that comes up, everything in order, and he's another guy, man. He's a big locker room guy. Man, these guys love him, and they know he'd do anything for them. So he's playing at a high level, and I'm glad we got him. And that's one thing that, honestly, going through these linebackers, I didn't see a ton of. I didn't see a ton of that, a guy that I could trust at both positions, but also the guy's coming off a career season. I mean, for him, 125 combined tackles. According to PFF, they have him with 78 solo, only allowing a 90.8 passer rating and 14 hurries. For me, again, we'll have a full video on him at some point. I thought maybe my biggest knock is I don't think he's a very good pass rusher, and sometimes you get some hit and miss run game fills, but when the defensive line is better, he got a lot better. And what I love is that you can point to big time, big moment, clutch plays that he made, right? We know the passion and the fieriness is there, the smarts are there, the versatility's there. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's 6'3", 237, that can move. Like, again, that's not something that's super common. It's really not, especially from a guy that's pretty polished out. Like, you can find in the draft, I always bring up Trent Simpson, similar build, but he's not polished out at off-ball linebacker. This guy can play both spots. He moves well. He has really nice size. We know he's a willing big hitter. He's Thor. We all know this, but at the same time, there's not a ton of guys in free agency that I think had that ability, right? He's not the best linebacker out there, but again, when the D-line got better, he got a lot better. This past year, he was much better than he was in 2021. It's really no coincidence. It starts up front. Aaron Glenn told us, you build through defensive line and cornerback. That's how we do it. But when that looks better, the linebackers start to look better, and that was the case with Alex Anzalone as well. What I love, though, is I can point to those moments. I can point to the games of the Green Bay Packers when they try to run that jet sweep versus us and we shut it down on 4th down. Alex Anzalone. The Dallas Cowboys when he shuts down that outside run and stops him and forces a punt. Okay, the New England Patriots pass breakup. The Thanksgiving interception that was tipped up by Malcolm Rodriguez. Like, you can point to key moments that he was big time for us. And that's a big part of it to me. It's those moments, because sometimes that's all it takes as a defense. And for the Lions that were really trying to build that out, and in 2021, we saw those hiccups where it was like, these guys have to learn how to play in those big moments. It's the same thing for Alex Anzalone. And when he was in these big moments this past year, he was a guy that stepped up countless occasions, okay? He's not the best coverage guy, but he's definitely one of the guys that has a really good upside because he has size. He's not outsized versus most tight ends for the most part, and he has pretty good fluidity, and he's still young enough. Like, let's not make it sound like guy's 35 years old. He's 28, all right? He's still young enough where a 3-year deal, and I don't know how it's set up. I'm assuming there's probably an out after like 2 years. Seems like a really nice length for Alex Anzalone. I'm honestly surprised that it came back with this long of a deal, but I'm pumped that he's back. It's just, now we have him under contract, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez. I still think the Lions could look for a potential developmental Mike or will linebacker with more coverage, flexibility, and versatility for the future, like a Chris Board. But this just, I thought you had to do it. The only reason I wouldn't have is if the price tag got too high, and I'm just happy that they did. But a last point on this, keep in mind that a lot of these guys like Alex Anzalone who are coming off a career season at that age, this may be their best chance to get the biggest payday they've gotten. So I don't blame them for not re-signing immediately. Go see what's out there, especially if teams are saying they're interested. Go see what you're worth on the market. Go see what teams are willing to pay for you on the market, because again, this could be their best opportunity, him, Jamal Williams, to get the biggest deal they've gotten. And it may be the biggest deal that they have an opportunity to get after they get a deal this offseason. So I'm just happy Duracell's back, man. I love it. All right, we got the battery t-shirts on the Dodge Shop. I'm just happy the dude is back, man. Leadership, flexibility, and just a dog. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, man. Again, full videos are coming for Cameron Sutton and all those guys. We'll be here with updates when the Lions make more moves. Thank you, Prime, for watching, and I'm out.